Did I understand this right when I watched that video? Did they say it was because of his size? Like literally because of his physical size that he couldn't be used outside of the leader slot? Did I hear that right?
I think you did hear that, and I also heard that he's going to give like an extra 10 million ship GP because he's as big as a starfighter.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we've got some new kind of content, something that we've not really done here before. We're gonna do kind of like a podcast. We're gonna talk about Galaxy of Heroes today. This is the pilot episode of a series called Never Tell Us the Mods. You know, at least maybe it's a pilot. Does a pilot imply that you're gonna do more than one? There's no decision made on if there's gonna be more than one of these. So it's maybe a pilot, I don't really know. But I have with me, this is also the first time I've ever had people on stream too. Maybe that's not true either. In any case, I'm calling it now. It's the first time I've ever had people. I've got two of my current guildies on here. We've got Sassy, otherwise known as Sasquatch, but you may call him Sassy. Say hello, Sassy.
Thanks for having me today.
There we go. And we've also got Aridin, longtime guild member of mine, been with me through two guilds. What's going on, Aridin?
Oh, you know, just another day. Happy to be here.
Just another day. All right. Well, so guys, we're professionals at this. So you can believe that there's going to be no mistakes, no dead air. It's going to be great. So Galaxy of Heroes, the first thing that I want to talk about, just to get started, what are you guys farming right now? What teams are you working on? Sassy, why don't you go first?
I wish you would have asked me this like last week and then asked me this week because wow, it's been a pretty busy week for us. But right now, the new farm is Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker, and then going after Jabba.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna go after our big boy, like literally the big boy.
Going after the thick boy, the thickest of them all.
Bro, he sure didn't they? Did I understand this right when I watched that video? Did they say it was because of his size, like literally because of his physical size that he couldn't be used outside of the leader slot? Did I hear that right?
I think you did hear that, and I also heard that he's going to give like an extra 10 million ship GP because he's as big as a starfighter.
like for real though, did I make that? Like they did say he cannot be used in the ally slot, right?
Yeah, they did make that comment. Yeah.
But like I do feel like they said it had to do with like the physical dimensions of him, and like because I noticed when they showed gameplay of him like in the game, that he was like sitting in the back, not where a leader normally sits. So I feel like they programmed his location based on his size, which I think is, I mean, comical. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
also
don't
funny.
tell Disney that.
Well, it's also funny that. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if they were trying to do it for some lore reason, maybe they would say, well, there's no way Jabba would be under anyone else's leadership.
That's also true. Like that's.
I do like that.
I feel like they should have just said that. Like, why are we not writers for Capital Games? Like, we could have written that script for them right here. This is the brain trust.
We'll send it into them.
Yeah, maybe they'll watch this and we'll get an exclusive from SWGOH too while we're at it. Oh, Aridin, what are you working on farming?
I've been going a little back and forth, but so far the Jabba announcement has not changed my mind. We'll see in the next few weeks, but just about finished up with Malgus and some supporting tunes. Gonna shift to Starkiller after that, and then if all goes as planned, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren after.
Very nice, very nice. I'm going after three things right now, but like two of them I'm actually going after. Going after Profundity. Obviously, you guys both have Profundity. Is Profundity fun? Like, is Profundity fun to play with? Super
fun. It's can be a little RNG based on assists, but I mean, it's awesome watching it in motion.
The thing that, I mean, I've only watched, I haven't experienced it yet, but the thing that I'm afraid of is like the Executor. You've got a flippin' Death Star. And like Profundity, you just like do this little, you just yeet them out of there. Just they go chase the ton at 4. Like it doesn't have like the cool factor. I'm literally going after it, A, because I love Rogue One, but B, just because like it counters the Executor. Not because like, I don't know, it doesn't seem fun. But if you guys say it's fun, I mean, I trust your guys' opinion, but like, it just seems so silly. All right, so let's get on to the main feature, the main topic. So today we're gonna talk about Datacrons. It's a hot topic. We just finished our first set, which was supposed to, or our first set of 3 sets, lots of sets, which was supposed to be the trial period, right? I think that means the trial period is quote unquote over, and we're moving into like the more stable version of Datacrons, or what they want the future of Datacrons to be. So the first thing I want, just from you guys, no real explanation, is just on a scale of 1 to 10, how have Datacrons affected your Galaxy of Heroes experience? Whereas 1 is it has very negatively impacted your experience, 10 being it has very positively impacted your experience, and 5 being, I don't know, what are Datacrons? And only consider them in gameplay. Don't consider the rolling or the farming or any of that. Just using them and fighting against them. So, Aridin, why don't you go first? What's your scale?
You know, part of me wants to go right smack dab in the middle because there's a lot of things that I like, a lot of things that I don't like. And I think my answer on that probably depends which set of Datacrons is out and which characters I have can actually use them.
Well, guess what? We are now, 2 days after we lost set 1. So right now, what's your number? 1 to 10.
I would say 1 because, well, actually maybe a 2 or 3 because I still have 1 Galactic Legend that can, make use of it. Luke Skywalker, but I lost Datacrons for Rey and Jedi Master Kenobi. So I'm sitting pretty poorly right now.
All right, sounds good. Sassy, what about you?
I would say 1 also, but with a 0 on the end. So I would say 10. Other side of the spectrum, I've got 6 level 9s that I am actively using on my roster right now. And I am having a blast with this. It gives me a huge like Omicron / Star Killer vibe where you can get this thing and it doesn't take very long to get. And it now allows you to do things against the Galactic Legend meta in various parts of the game. I just love it. I love what it's doing for the game.
Okay. All right. So we have 2 very different, and then I'm gonna say I'm on like a 6. I'm gonna say if 5 is I haven't even noticed that they exist, I'm on like a 6. Like there's a little bit of it that I like. There's some things about it that I don't like. There's some things I think about it that could be improved. So I'm like a tepid 6 on the scale. So I feel like you both have given pretty good segues into the second question, which is what have you liked and what have you disliked? And Aridin, I'm going to let you go first because you specifically just said there are things I like about them and there are things I don't like about them.
I mean, let's be real. If you get a Datacron that works for a team that you have, it can be amazing. And so that's obviously something to really like. The offshoot of that is kind of how they were approached, or they were given to us, and what they were going to accomplish. And I was really more expecting them to have a wider use, not necessarily be focused on making Galactic Legends better. And I know that there are some of them that do in fact make non-Galactic Legend teams, Galactic Legend killers, but I was hoping, I guess, in a nutshell, I was hoping for something that would make teams that you don't use a lot, maybe Galactic Legend light, because you get into a bit of a questionable area if you try to make just trash teams kill and counter any Galactic Legend, particularly with that kind of investment. So I was just expecting it to increase the scope of teams that you could bring to the playing field, and I think the biggest limiting factor on that is just the Relic gate.
Boy, have you just listed like 4 different things that I have on my notes that are things that we're going to talk about. So it's almost like you saw my notes and I sent them to you before we ever did this.
And yet I wasn't involved in the practice sessions, so maybe we're just thinking the same thing.
Oh, I think you're also saying though things that a lot of other people are talking about and potentially thinking. So those were some of the things that you said that you were kind of looking for or what you were wanting. What are some of the things that you have enjoyed about Datacron so far?
The GAC is kind of a fun game mode, but it's also a game mode that I get kind of tired of. And if you get a really awesome Datacron, whether it's has a defensive use or an offensive use, it can really just make that a lot smoother. You know, you can go up against teams potentially with a comp that you wouldn't normally use, or you could go against, you know, something really strong like a Jedi Master Kenobi and just steamroll it, and it makes just that experience better. So I like that aspect of it, and I like that particularly it is bringing teams that you wouldn't normally use. I don't necessarily have them right now, but you know, the Beskar, Mando, Datacron, which I'm sure Sassy you'll get to talk about, and then the Dash, most recently the Dash one. Those are I think where the Datacrons should be focused. You know, bringing in some marginalized teams and you know, really shedding some light.
Okay. All right, Sassy, on to you. What are some things that you have enjoyed? You gave it a 10, so I'm assuming you've got some things to share. What are some things you've enjoyed about Datacron?
I have to say the recent update that they just shared about only having 2 sets live at the same time. I really like that approach versus the original plan of like having 3 sets in the queue all the time. I think it's a bit overwhelming and it moves so quick. Like you do one conquest and that's like the only time that 1 month you have to farm materials for your Datacrons for that set. And then like the next month you were already onto another set. So I like that they're constantly, you know, it's so new and they seem to be receptive to feedback on it and they're actually implementing change with it. So I really like that they dropped it to 2 sets. And now that like we did Conquest last month, we're doing it this month now. And I'm still farming the same, or wait, is this the new mat?
This is the new
the new material?
Yeah, this is the new material.
So then next month, I guess we're going to be we get to farm that same material twice. And I really like that. So I think you'll just have some more time to like enjoy a certain Datacron, but also like go farm some of the reroll materials. And I think there's a lot of people that are like crying over not getting the perk that they wanted, the level 3, the level 6, or the level 9 ability they wanted. And it's like modding. There's a lot of RNG involved. Mm-hmm. And I think giving people more time in the conquest was the right solution to like, so someone doesn't get salty, but reasonably salty because they only originally had 1 month to try and get it. And it's just those 2 weeks during Conquest. So, and
you get the additional 2 territory wars during that time that you also can get the reroll material. So it's not just, farm as many as you can in that one Conquest, then it's game over. So there's that side to it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think I'm just enjoying that it's a completely new piece of content. It's going to be adding like new flavors for people to experience for the game. The game really needed that overall, in my opinion. And I'm happy that they're staying very close to it. And I have the impression that they're really going to take care of this new component of the game.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think my thoughts on it are I've enjoyed doing them. I've enjoyed one thing that I did like about some of the GL Datacrons is it enabled you to not have to use a single team to have that GL be really good. That was one thing I really liked about, the First Order and the Resistance GLs when they came out is you could put a lot of different stuff together and have a really effective team. And then with the start of Sith Eternal, Jedi Master Luke, and then it just went on from there, you had to use a specific team. Otherwise, the Galactic Legend was garbage. If you didn't have like Gas, Jedi Knight Luke, and Jedi Knight Revan with your Jedi Master Luke, your team was just like going to get steamrolled by everything else. If you didn't have Watt and Armorer with your Sith Eternal, it was garbage. If you didn't have Cat, you were garbage. Lord Vader doesn't have Maul, he's garbage. And one of the first things whenever I got my Jedi Master Kenobi Datacron was like, do I still need Cat to have this team be amazing? The answer to that was no. And it allowed me to, use Cat with Dash or move teams around. So that was one thing that I did really enjoy. something that I I don't necessarily enjoy is there's no ability to really test, and there's a lot of randomness to it, to like, you know, how is this Datacron going to work that I'm going up against? And the idea was, you know, they kind of set it out there like, Squad Arena is going to go be that's going to be your playground where you can go try out all of your Datacrons and find out how they work, so that, you know, it's not necessarily random, but like no one's going into Squad Arena with like, I don't know, a bounty hunter squad with a level 6 Datacron that affects dark side units and scoundrels. Like, you're never going to see that if you're in the top 100 of Squad Arena. And if you're below the top 100 of Squad Arena, you're not going to have anyone that you can reach out to, or your arena shard is dead. So like there's no way to see, like on our resources we have right now for like Grand Arena, what Datacrons were being used, because there's just too much going on with it. So it introduces a level of, beyond just like, in my opinion, beyond a level of just like critical thinking involved, to like, I truly have no idea what's going to happen. Like, how bad is this going to screw me up because they have this Datacron? And then once you go into the battle, it's either, you know, it's too late. And then that experience you've just had didn't necessarily prepare you if, you know, just like one thing had changed. Like if it was just a different level 3 or a different level 6, how is it going to change the comp again? So the lack of ability to, I don't know, really experiment and learn how it affected different squads, which is, again, here's another shout out to where's my sandbox mode, because that's really.
And I think that's the point. Like, I do want to, you know, I think you make a good point, but I don't think it's a downside per se of Datacrons. Like, I think that's an overarching problem within the game. Like, you slap an Omicron on a new character, and it's like, I have no way of having any idea how this is going to do in like territory battle or territory war, without a little bit of Squad Arena RNG. So I don't know if we should like hold that against the Datacron, is all I'm saying. There's a lot of crons in this game. I think we were joking about that earlier.
There's a lot of crons in this game. And I hold it against the Datacrons a little bit more just because because in Omicron, I mean, even before we had Omicrons, we had, you know, characters. And you never really knew, unless you watched, you know, Arnold go out and do a stream, you didn't know how it was going to do until it was in Grand Arena. But once it was in Grand Arena for a cycle, you knew how to beat it. Like we have the resources to go to SWGOH.gg, Grand Arena Science, pick your favorite, you know, thing. You can go out there and see how it does. So I can go out and see how a Star Killer with an Omicron does now. I can just see. I can't go out and see how does Star Killer with an Omicron with a Datacron do. Like, there's no way for me to see that. There's no way for me to test that. So I think there is another level even just beyond the Omicron. But I do agree that like that is an overarching problem with the game with the introduction of Omicrons. We need a place to like see how these things work. But I think Datacrons exacerbate that even more than just Omicrons did. All right, so something else that we've kind of hinted at was the randomness aspect and the re-rolling. And I think we're all pretty aware that some people, myself included, I've gotten a little salty. You know, you get the wrong level 9 and you get a little displeased. We've seen probably the great Arnold posting some very salty videos about not getting the Sith Eternal Cron, about not getting the Rey Cron. What are your guys' opinions? Sassy, we'll start with you first. On the randomness and re-rolling, does it need to be changed? Is it fine the way it is? Do you like the randomness? What are your thoughts?
I don't know if this is confirmed or not, and maybe you guys know, but I could have swore I read or heard somewhere that certain abilities at the 3, 9, and like 6 level, certain abilities are not inherently equal in regards to the rolling probability of you getting that one. So
I
like,
have
think
not
it's
heard that.
confirmed. I
Is
think
that
I heard
confirmed?
that, and I think it was a post. It was a CG post.
So let me dig into that then. So saying this is confirmed, I think that's the one thing that kind of makes this, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Like, if I was to drop my original vote from a 10 to a 9, it would be because of something like this. Because you've got someone who's free to play versus pay to play, you know, and it's just, I think that's pretty frustrating when it's not, you're not on an equal ground.
Right.
Just trying to get the role. And this is something that's here temporary. It's only here for 2 months. And if you want someone to enjoy this part of the game that you've added, and it's only here for a limited time, I really feel like those roll probabilities should be equal. Like, if there was one thing I wanted to add, it would just be like, that would be it.
Just
Make
flatten
those
the
all
curve.
equal.
I want to add to that.
No curve, yeah.
I want to add no curve, and I have to say the speed at which the increased material requirements for rerolls increases is kind of not cool, because to that same point, you're basically saying, okay, I'm going to, after I've rolled twice, it's going to cost me effectively, 4 times as many materials to do it again, and I'm going to still have to deal with that reduced probability of actually getting a useful one. And it's temporary.
Right.
Oh, and I thought of another one.
Hit us.
So, who here has TIE Fighter Pilot or Ayla Secura at Relic 7?
I'm not raising my hand. You can't see it, but my hand is not raised.
Or like Bo-Katan. Like, I got the Bo-Katan ability like 3 times, and I was like, come on, guys. So, I think that's another thing that's just totally unreasonable, because quite a few of those characters are wrecks for like GLs or ships or what have you, and not many people are taking those people up to Relic level 7. That's a huge investment for 2 months of enjoyment. So,
it comes back to that, increasing the usability of, like, if they're trying to make a wider array of teams be useful in a current meta, they're basically saying, get this very rare thing, maybe, and then also, go farm a lot of other stuff so that you can actually use it.
No, I think that's fair. And this doesn't shock me. And this is one thing that I don't expect that we will actually see any change on, because you guys can tell me if you think I'm wrong, but I think the plan here inherently is to make the rerolls expensive. And it also goes with the fact that the store, it refreshes every week. So like, you can't even really wail on the reroll materials. And now it's limited to territory wars, which granted, yes, you're going to now get 4 territory wars worth of materials. Because that reroll has such a high price tag on it, you're kind of left, if you get, you get the Sith Empire Trooper, you get the Ayla Secura Datacron, you're kind of left with the 2 choices of, one, do I scrap it, or I guess 3 choices, scrap it and start over. Do I just keep trying to re-roll it and pay the huge premium to re-roll it? Or do I relic up a character? And in CG's eyes, that's money. Especially if they can start to sell relics based off of this increased price of re-rolls. If it inherently encourages people to relic characters up even more than they already would have. And so I don't know what the data looks like, but if they're seeing people relic 7, Ayla Secura, and Bo-Katan just to use the level 9 Datacrons, then for sure I don't think we're going to see that go away. Which is one of the things that kind of brings down my level once again from, anything higher down to a 6 is for that reason. Obviously it's a mobile game. There's going to be the monetary aspect of it, but that one kind of doesn't feel super great, in my opinion. Given though, assume for a second that we live in a perfect world and they do flatten the curve and it's just truly random what level 9 cron you get, 6, 3. Are you good with the randomness? Or, there's some people that call it, you should be able to pick. You should be able to just go in and pick what you get from the Datacron. What do you guys think?
No, I like the randomness. I like modding. I honestly like modding how it is. Like, I like the randomness, because it's like it forces you to really try at it if you want to yield some results. So you can't just walk in and be really good at it, will yourself to something that's really good. I like that it's like it makes you do conquest. You can't like do these things without doing conquest. And I think that's important. Just like mods, you can't just like wake up one day and whale yourself a bunch of 25 speeders,
That's fair. Airden, what about you?
I'm okay with the randomness, but I think the biggest area that could be looked at is making sure that the roles are of equal value, in the sense that when you get to a level 9 Datacron and you've got a couple options for a Galactic Legend, or an option or two for a character that literally is not going to have a use, like you have your Sith Empire Trooper. I mean, who cares if he does 100% more damage from his tenacity? It's still 100% of basically nothing is still nothing. So, like,
That's a great point. Yeah.
if you're going to, put all this investment in it, why not? You could put something crazy on Sith Empire Trooper and actually make people say, oh yeah, that's actually worth relicing up. Like, if you're gonna make that a monetization, make it worth getting that tune to Relic 7. Like, I'm sure that they could do any number of things that would have you look at it again and say, holy crap, that is totally worth it.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And I think definitely, like, no one would argue that you go through and you look at the character ones, and you can definitely see that, like, not even just like some of the ones for specific characters like the Galactic Legends or, stuff like that, but you see some that are just like, just like that character and all of their ones are just a bunch of stinkers. Like, there's, if I get this character, I'm guaranteed, no matter like if I Relic 7 them, that character is still not going to be good and is still not going to do anything good and is not going to do anything that's worth all of this investment that I've just put into this level 9 Datacron. So I do think that's a fair point to make. Aside from that, I do think that your investment should reflect the decency of the Cron. Like, if you're going to spend enough to get it up to 9, you should get something out of your investment. Even if it's not a Galactic Legend, the level 1, it should still be something that, really elevates that team. It really should take the team really to the next level, because that character has a level 9 Cron, not just like, be okay.
Right. Hope that you have good secondary roles, that it almost doesn't matter what your other abilities are, because it's like, oh, I've got 400% health steal, so now my Galactic Legend is unkillable, even if it didn't get an ability.
Right. Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree with that. And the randomness, I'm pretty good with, because it's like, a lot of people, especially people that are free to play, will probably disagree with the statement. As someone who is, I wouldn't say I'm not free to play, but I'm relatively close to free to play. It is the great equalizer between people who are whales and people who are not. And it feels really bad whenever you're that, that free to play player that gets the Sith Eternal Trooper Datacron. Been there, got like 3 of them. But like, also the people who whale can't just sit there and buy stuff. I mean, they do release the packs once in a while that are like 1,500 crystals. But like, for the most part, those packs aren't always there. You can't always just sit there and spam rerolls over and over until you get just the perfect Datacron.
Yep.
So like that kind of does, level the playing field, at least. If you're free to play, you may get fewer chances at it, but like, it limits a whale's ability to just get like the perfect Datacron, kind of like mods. There's only so much a whale can do before, they can buy a lot of mods, but it's going to cost them a good amount of money. Like, they're going to have to really, really open up their pocketbook. So something else I want to talk about. Go ahead, Sassy.
Before we go into that, Chad, something that I heard about the mod calibration, a part of the road ahead, or the recalibration, they were going to put a cap on how many things they can do. I think a cap would be a good move for them to do with the Datacron rerolls. I know that Aridin was talking about, the exponential increases to rerolls, and I think that's super frustrating. But I do think that it would help people make a decision whether to scrap it or just be done with it if there was a cap. Like, you can only re-roll it twice, or 2 times or 3 times. I think that's something I hope to see them explore. So
if they do, though, they
just sink their life into it.
If they're gonna do that, though, they've got to make it worth the investment, right? No more Sith Empire Trooper just garbage level 9s if you also can't like re-roll enough times to get something decent out of it. That would be, again, my caveat. Yeah. All right, so something that I've heard people talk about, and this is my own personal thing that I basically just want your guys' either confirmation or hear your guys' opinion on. When it comes to Datacrons, do you feel and see more of an effect from the stat modifiers or the level 3, 6, and 9 abilities. And I'm going to put a caveat on this, and I'm going to say, do not include health steal, because very clearly we can all see that when a character has 400% health steal, there's a massive impact in game. So throw out 400% health steal. Have you noticed the bigger difference of Datacrons coming from the abilities or from the stats? Aridin, you first.
I mean, for me, certainly from the abilities. I mean, the only time I'll look at the stat, like, if I have a level 9 Datacron and it has the abilities that I want on it, I don't care what the secondary rolls are, because most of the time those abilities are going to carry me through whatever I need them to. The only time I'm looking at those secondary stats is when I'm, using a secondary team or, my Wampa, and I want to pick and choose something that's going to help them when none of the abilities do. So, final answer, the only time I look at those stats is either if I have the perfect cron and I want to make it better, or if I'm, not using the abilities.
Okay. And Sassy, what are your thoughts?
I don't have much to add other than I concur. I think the abilities are really where it's at that have been the game changer for me. But I do think we are noticing that, like I mentioned earlier about like some of the constructive feedback they're taking and actually implementing, is I don't think we're going to see certain stats like that continue in the game. And I think they're going to, I think they took the feedback from that first set and I think they're implementing it where there's not a stat that's going to like ruin the game. But I mean,
interested
who knows?
To see how Dodge though. Dodge, man.
Yeah,
Let's see how this goes. We added Dodge into the game.
200% Dodge.
There's nothing more frustrating than sending in a
mastery.
Malevolence up against like an Imperial fleet and just you can't hit that freaking TIE fighter to save your life and you like lose because you can't hit the freaking TIE fighter. So if that's what Grand Arena turns into, I will lose my mind.
You should have farmed accuracy arrows. I don't know what to tell you.
Or just accuracy Datacrons. That's what's going to happen is everyone's going to have a set of accuracy Datacrons and they're going to have a set of dodge Datacrons. The dodge ones go on defense. The accuracy ones go on offense, I guess. But no, I think I agree with you guys. Like, the way that I usually look at it is what have I noticed like turn the tide of a battle? And I mean, I think in general, the answer, at least for me, has been the abilities. I'm sure someone will comment on this and tell me that I'm a complete idiot because I'm pretty used to those at this point. And they're not necessarily wrong. But like, I can visibly see like having an extra 25% turn meter at the beginning of battle. That like very clearly gives me an advantage to start. Like I've seen that help some of my secondary teams, like a Rolo squad or a Wigs squad, like actually do things because they're low on speed and they otherwise would have just gotten steamrolled from the very beginning. So I can like very clearly see that, but I can't ever say, again, aside from the health steal, I can't say that I've gone into a battle and been like, it was that like 8% critical damage they had. That's why I lost, is because they had like 8% critical damage. And maybe that's just me being ignorant and not noticing. But like, I've always, like, I feel like it's never come down. It's either come down to the abilities or it's come down to I just made like a boneheaded mistake and like made a misplay. But I've never like been like, they were hitting 8% harder than they should have been, and that's why I lost.
Well, we might not see at our level though. Like I imagine at Kyber 1 with someone who's modded appropriately, and if they are slapping, an extra 10% crit damage, and they're already critting for, if they have them modded really well, I think it could be a much different answer if someone's like modded correctly. So
it certainly could. And I don't mean to say like it's not. I'm saying, and that's why I wanted to set this all off, is this is all anecdotal, right? Like this is all what we have experienced at like, Kyber 4 up to Kyber 2. But I have not been in an experience like to where I can visibly see that like the extra damage has, but like Aridin watched me stream in our Discord a Grand Arena, and like there was a legitimate like attempt made to beat a Jedi Master Kenobi team with Cat with General Anakin Skywalker. And like obviously I lost, but like the stun ability on that Datacron like actually gave me a fighting chance. Like I think I actually even got a sacrifice. Like I got through the savior mechanic on Jedi Master Kenobi before Cat decided to wipe out gas and it was game over. So like Maybe it's just that that's just more visible and it's easier to see than like the update and stats. Like you hear about people cheating by like adding an extra like 2% to their offense or something like that. But I don't know. I haven't necessarily seen it. Doesn't mean that I want them to take it away, because like you guys have said, when it's a secondary team and I'm slapping something on, like I'm definitely looking very closely at those stats. But usually it's not the deciding factor for me. I'm like, if I keep a cron or not, usually, or if I'm leveling up a cron, like I don't usually say like, scrapping this because it got, only 3% critical damage. It's usually like, you got the crappy ability. We're not going to use that one. All right, so something else I want to talk about is, and Airden kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, the Relic requirement for Datacron. So we've got the Relic 3, the Relic 5, and the Relic 7 requirements. SWGOH, we'll start with you. But how do you feel about that, about there being a Relic cap? Like you can't use these if there's a Gear 12 member in your squad. You can't use them if there's, anything less than Relic 3. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's lame. I think it's totally lame. Like, what new player? Okay. So I'm in Kyber 2. Airden, what are you in right now?
3.
And you, Chad?
Kyber 2.
So I don't know about you guys, but how many teams do you guys have like fully relicked all the time for your GACs?
Enough that I can use quite a few Datacrons, but usually the thing that keeps me back is like that one character that's not Relic 3. Usually, I've got almost a full team, but not quite.
But like, how many times is that because you had to change the way you would have normally have done that team because of the Datacron?
Not sure if I followed, but if your question was how many times have I switched up a team because of a Datacron, several times.
Yes. So I think that's exactly like the problem I'm encountering with it right now. Is just I have a lot of teams where it's like, you know what, maybe a G12 droid works with, maybe BB-8 and like 0 gear works with Grievous, and it just helps give them that speed boost, but I can't give them a really nice Datacron that reduces cooldown or whatever. Like, I think that's super frustrating, and I think it's really tough. It's got to be tough for new players. Like, what is it at level 3? They have to be all Relic 3.
To use anything at level 1, just having one stat in there, it's still got to be Relic 3. Relic 3 or nothing.
Like, when is a new player gonna get their hands on Datacrons?
Whenever we see phase 2 changes, buddy. When we get gear level 2 of the gear changes.
Yeah, when we see phase 3, which no one down the road,
yeah.
right?
So I think that's just my biggest beef with this. Like, they brought this new game mode to the game, but it's like we've been, the three of us have pretty decent sized rosters. We've put a few years into the game, like, and we're struggling to fulfill some of the requirements. So it's just, right. I just feel like it should be a little more open for especially new players. Like, they should at least get stat increases and maybe like the level 3 ability. That would be cool.
I'm gonna throw onto this. Sorry, Airden, I'm gonna interrupt you really quick. Is kind of back to what you said, Sassy, about whenever I talked about there not being a way to test them, and you said that's an overarching problem with the game. I feel like this is also just an overarching problem with the game, is there's not content for new players. Like, this is kind of outside the point, so I don't want to harp on this, but like any new content that's brought into the game, new territory battle just announced, it's going to be harder than Lightside Geo. Obviously, new players not going to get to enjoy that for multiple years. Grand Inquisitor added, all needed Relic 5. Like, that's just, it's super unfortunate. And when people ask me, like, whenever I stream this game, people come and watch this channel for KOTOR stuff. Like, I'm aware of this. They come in and they see the stream. They're like, what game are you playing? Should I play this? And I'm like, listen, if you're okay with the fact that you're not going to get to do any of the new cool stuff for multiple years, then go for it. Or you're going to have to spend a crap ton of money. So it's just, I think that's just part of the player experience that's unfortunate about this game. It's not even necessarily solo to Datacrons.
Yeah. I just felt like Datacrons would have been an easy way to breach that problem they're having with engaging newer. It's like, make the level 3 be early game access, make the middle one, early mid access, and then level 9 is mid end game. I don't know.
That's fair.
I'm no engineer.
That's fair. Airden, what are your thoughts?
Call me crazy. I'm gonna go even further. We all have those Gear 8 Gear 10 teams that you did for some requirement way back when. I'm looking at you, Phoenix, and and I want something. Again, I'm going to come back to the point where I don't necessarily need something that can 100% take down a Galactic Legend. I want something that makes my terrible purple team take on something in Relics. It doesn't even have to be a super meta team. But like the leftover stuff that people leave on defense. Or the leftover stuff that I could leave on defense to, free up the strategy, by making use of the depth that you just don't have really the time or the resources to bring up, or the inclination, because you're always chasing the next farm. Like, make those teams that you're just never going to use viable, not at the peak, but for leftovers.
Okay, that's fair. I'm going to be the voice of opposition on this one, actually, guys. I actually enjoy it. I would be willing. The one concession I would be willing to make is what Sasquatch says. I'd be willing to make and it's not even quite what he said. I'd be willing to make the first 2 levels, which is where you just get a small stat increase. I'd be willing to make that applicable to everything. So especially so new players can still use Datacrons. But here's where I'm at. Like, I hate, and this may be and I know actually this is an unpopular opinion. I hate that Iden Versio at like gear 6 with like a bunch of gear 10 troopers requires like a Relic team. I hate that. I despise that in this game. And so the idea that like someone could give them like a level 6 or a level 9 cron and then just have like this team that they have put almost no investment into. I have to like drop, like, because that's going to be on defense. Because we know right now, I think we can all agree on this. If they opened it up to where Datacrons can apply to any team, your entire opponent's GAC defense is only going to be purple characters that just have absurd things going on with them because of Datacrons. And you're going to have to use...
do that same thing.
But like, will it work? And that's even goes back to the randomness of it. How are you ever going to know what works anymore? Like, it's just, it would become, to me, absurd.
Some of it's not going to work. Like, think about the stats though. Like, Chad, if let's just say like it's the turn meter cron, like the plus 25% at level 3. And if you've got a purple tune that has like like 5 dot mods, who knows, maybe he's missing a triangle because the person doesn't even know what mods are because they're so new to the game. But then they slap a 25%, like 25% of like, this 150 speed tune is like giving them another, I don't know, what is that, 35, 40 speed? Like, that's pretty cool. But like, it's not going to break the game like it can with in the higher end stuff. So I do think like, I don't think it's going to be as deadly as I think as we foresee.
The problem with that is then what you're going to run into is you're going to end up having them basically limiting the ability of what a level 3 cron could do. Like, they would have to design Datacrons so that basically your level 3 ability is basically worthless, right? Like, if you had it that it could affect everyone, there can't be any value into the level 3. Because then anyone can use it, and if it's a gear 8, it can't affect teams in a way that makes them god tier. Like, I feel like that's going to hurt.
Do we think there's been though really good level 3s? Like, other than the 25% turn meter, everything else has been pretty like just like nice perks.
Yeah,
I've got to remind myself.
I feel like.
Here, hold on. We're gonna put a pause on this. I can put a jump cut. I'm gonna pull up the list of Datacrons really quick.
Sure, and I think that 25%, I don't think we're going to see anything like that again. I think that was the second set. They wanted to try something different out, and I think that was just too much of an overpowered thing, and I don't think we're going to see anything like that again. That's my opinion. I think it's like the health steal. They're just they're like, oh, yep, that was a bad idea. We're getting rid of that.
I don't know. I mean, you say that, and then we get cases where, again, I don't know that this is something that they're looking at, but you get the dash that deletes Galactic Legends or the BAM that deletes
But that's the
anything
level.
that-
Well, that's the level 9, right? I mean, I'm just talking level 3s right now. Just level 3s.
Fair enough. I mean, I think they thought 25% turn meter. I actually don't know that they had an issue with that. I think the issue with that was that it was light side only. If you made that light side and like you had the same, because that Datacron was only light side.
Yeah,
so
I'm looking at. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, so if you were looking at that having something that you could use on both sides, people would have farmed. I mean, people did farm a bunch of those, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I
Yeah, I
picked
had
up
like
as many
I had
as
like
I could.
I had like 8 or 9 of those. Like it's absurd. And like here's, and it goes back to my point. It wouldn't break all squads, but like there are definitely some that it could. Like Iden Versio, if there was a cron like that for her, like she's already god tier without having anywhere near relics. Like, or I guess quote unquote god tier for like not being like a galactic legend and not being a legendary. So I mean the idea that like that could break them, or like here's another one that I'm looking at is when Darkside Allies inflict a debuff on an enemy, they deal damage up to equal to 2% of that enemy's max health. Like you get a Bastilishan Fallen that's at gear 8 and has the Omega on her fear. Like that can do some serious damage because that's not based on any of her stats. Like that could be like pretty damning for a low gear team. So I don't know. I don't like the idea of, and this is going to sound like I'm a Capital Games like crony here. I don't like the idea of incentivizing people to not gear up teams because I don't want to have to fight those non-geared up teams with geared up teams. Like I want to fight things of equal investment. And so, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. And so I am completely fine. I'd be okay with lightening the requirements for level 1 and 2, potentially 3, but again, they'd have to be really careful with what the level 3s are.
Yeah, I mean, it's
like
just help out the new player, man. Let them have some fun.
Like how many people are only getting things to Relic 7 that are actually useful, you know?
Yeah,
and
correct.
And so you put this idea of level 9 abilities that, you know, can only be used on Relic 7, but hey, we're gonna throw out this thing that we know nobody has. I mean, that's just dog doo-doo.
No, that's fair. Like that, and that is something that's kind of, you know, bugged me on it. But we also know that that's part of the game. Insert the wire with Omar. It's all in the game, man.
Yeah, I think Aridin was just who was the person that got the veteran Han Solo? Was that you?
That was me. Yeah. I mean,
like, why don't you have a Relic 7 veteran Han? Like,
and this is the reality. This is what I told you then, which is even if that level 9 Kron for veteran Han actually did delete GLs, I'm not taking my gear 8 or whatever, maybe it's 10, veteran Han to Relic 7 in, you know, the short amount of time we have to do it. Like,
you have 2 months. You have the time.
No,
sure.
he has like
Actually,
he has like 1 month to do it because then he'd only have 1 month to play with it.
Right. Oh, I
Yeah.
guess I have 4 months now. Maybe
Oh yeah,
that's
it's two of using and two of farming. Right.
Less, maybe slightly less of a concern, but you're still looking at. I guess the challenge that Datacrons pose is this idea that you are bending your. We all know that, you know, Galactic Heroes it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You pick what you're farming, you stick with it, and at the end of, depending on what it is, 4 to 6 months or more, you know, you get what you were farming. But here, it's like anyone that has an issue with shiny for Datacrons you know, you're gonna turn that 4 to 6 month farm that you were dedicated to like a year because you're like, ooh, shiny, I'm gonna go get this thing, and then you're gonna be effed after 4 months.
I mean, that could have been part of what when they had the board meeting, they're like, how can we make money off of Datacrons? That could have been the short attention span of people could have been one of their selling points for Datacrons.
And in fact, that actually probably could be an even bigger selling point for like, oh, we heard you, we're gonna make the Datacrons last longer. Could have been like, well, now there's actually more incentive for people to go do these farms and spend this money because it's not quite as temporary. But
Yeah.
it's still disruptor.
Nope, that makes sense. All right, guys, we're coming up on time. There's one more thing that I want to talk about really quick before we run out of time. And it's, again, something that Airden mentioned in the beginning, like he was reading my mind or my notes. GL Datacrons. Should they exist? Should they not? Airden, you first.
I mean, as awesome as it would be, I don't think they should. I think the place that my mind goes is that GLs, you know, they represent the cap. And do you really want to put things in the game that break that cap? You know, it's a fine line between someone spent either real money or sweat, blood, and tears and time to get there, and then putting in these things that, you know, can wipe all over them. I'm much more a fan of putting off meta teams or less used teams and making them viable. You know, maybe putting them on the same playing field in the sense that, you know, if RNG goes your way, you could potentially take down that Galactic Legend or that non-optimized team with a Galactic Legend in it. I'm less a fan of something that just elevates them way above, because again, then we get Datacrons that make the already overpowered things that much more overpowered.
Okay. Sassy, you.
I agree with everything Airden said. Exact answer. I would only add one thing. I would love to see Datacron sets release, not just for like the underrepresented teams and that kind of thing, but like I want, like when Cassian drops later this month, I want a Datacron for Cassian. I want an Andor Cron, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that would be fun.
You're gonna get an Andor Cron. It's just gonna be an Andor Omicron. Lots of Crons, man.
Probably.
You're gonna get a Cron.
Wrong Cron. But I just think something like timing it with some of the content releases outside of the game content would be that would be super fun. So I wish they would do something like that.
That's fair. Like a limited release Cron or something like that you could get for a character. And like, as long as they let you know like ahead of time. Like that would be kind of
totally.
That'd be kind of gross if they're like, 1 week only, farm this level 9 Datacron, have fun. Like that'd be pretty stupid. But if they told you like a month in advance, like, hey, next month we're gonna have a limited edition.
I mean like
right.
I mean like the set, like the normal set. Like next set that comes out, it should have Andor in it. And then the set after that, maybe it's near like season 3 Mando. You know, let's do maybe Grief gets a Datacron or something. I don't know. I go back and forth on this, and I'm not completely sold. I can usually be persuaded on most things. I'm okay with GL Datacrons right now as it is in the current scenario, and the reason why is kind of like Airden, to your point, even though I know that this isn't what you were saying, is since GLs are supposed to, you know, be the cap of, you know, what power is in Grand Arena, I don't feel comfortable with random ass teams being able to break into that tier. I think is the thing that I don't really like. And I think there's a couple of ways that can be solved. One of them is having GL Crons. If you're going to elevate every other team in the game to, you know, that high of a level, you need to elevate the GLs a little bit higher so that they stay at the top. But then you run into the balance issue of, well, now you've got one GL that's
way, way at the top, and the other GLs are only kind of at the top. I mean, your other option is just make Datacrons not like work against a Galactic Legend. I mean, they've built that into so many kits when they did the great nerf of 2021, right? They wrote into like every single kit against Galactic Legends, you know, you have this effect instead. Like, throw that in so that you don't just have Darth Vader soloing Galactic Legend team. So you don't have Commander Luke Skywalker just nuking a Jedi Master Luke team. Because while it's cool to like see that, and like, I don't know that I've had a more fun time watching a Grand Arena than Airden watching you defeat a Jedi Master Luke with CLS. Like, that was
awesome.
incredibly fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. But like, on the receiving end of that, I don't love the idea, you know, that I've spent, you know, if you want to go after a Galactic Legend, it can take you upwards of a year, assuming, you know, that you're newer to the game. It can take you upwards of a year to get a Galactic Legend, 6 months to a year. You know, you do that, and then they start releasing Datacrons, and, you know, every month it's something different, but every month you find yourself against a Grand Arena opponent that maybe doesn't have a Galactic Legend, doesn't have anything that should be able to beat your Galactic Legend, but every month they can, because they have this new Datacron that just elevates some whacked out team that shouldn't be able to beat it.
And so then I guess my question along those lines becomes, okay, so would this be a scenario where Datacrons don't function against Galactic Legends, but also Datacrons can't be used with Galactic Legends? Because that's basically the same. Like, so then do you basically just have something that you can only use when you're not fighting a Galactic Legend or using one?
I think so, and that's honestly what they've done with Omicron. What they've started doing with Omicrons is a lot of them say, if there is no Galactic Legend present, they don't even necessarily say if there's no Galactic Legend on the other team. Like, you can't use Qui-Gon Jinn with Jedi Master Luke. Like, you can't throw Jedi Master Luke under a Qui-Gon Jinn lead and get the Omicron ability on Luke, because they knew that was going to be absurd. So, I mean, my opinion is either one, they do that, which is Datacrons don't function against or with Galactic Legends. Just write Galactic Legends out of Datacrons entirely, to where they're just nullified. Or option B is you leave it the same. Like, I don't, you know, have something to keep Galactic Legends at the Galactic Legend status. Again, then the problem with that is you've got different tiers of Galactic Legends, even more than just having Galactic Legends and Galactic Legends with their Conquest counterpart, which they've already said, yeah, we said that we were going to have this one level, but then we added Conquest counterparts. So now we've raised the level a little bit more. They have added another one that adds another level. So my personal opinion, I would like to see, is just don't let them affect Galactic Legends. The Galactic Legend being in the battle neutralizes it entirely. It neutralizes the stats, neutralizes the abilities, neutralizes everything. And I think that gives the Galactic Legends the power, and it still lets you do some really cool things, and it still lets them punch up. Like, if you could see a Phoenix team beat a Darth Revan team, like that I'd be okay with. I just don't want to see a Phoenix team, you know, even just cripple a Galactic Legend team. I don't want to see that. So I'm okay with a little bit of power creep up to like that legendary level, but maybe not up to like the Epic Confrontation or to the Galactic Legend. Is that absurd of me, or what do you guys think?
I don't want to take them out of the game. I think it's more fun to allow some of these teams to compete. And it's temporary. It's for 2 months. And the fact that person farmed the Galactic Legend, they're still reaping all the other benefits from having the Galactic Legend. They're getting the assault battles done. They're tapping into various events. They're getting the extra waves and TB and holds and T-dub. Like, Datacron is just in GAC, so like
well, GAC and Territory War.
And Territory War. But like, I just feel like you should still be able to have that ability, but maybe let's just tone back the Galactic Legend abilities, but we could still keep the non-GL, non-legendary teams like crazy abilities, because those are fun. Like, seeing BAM new teams is fun. But you have to mod them correctly, and you have to know what you're doing in order to, like, anyone that just walks in can't make it happen. You have to correctly do the team, so it takes some work to do. But like, no one should have a GL that can be unbeaten. Like the Raycron, the JML Cron, like those were just too overpowered So like maybe just a little like dampen it a little bit on the GL side of things, and then everyone will be a little happier, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
think
go
if
ahead, Airden.
if if you need a sweaty big brain strategy to even remotely have a chance of making it work, that's where I think it comes into play. My for the record, my success with CLS level 9 Datacron against JML is like one one out of 3, maybe 1 out of 4. So it's not like that's a sure win. That's me with 2 GLs on attack up against 3 GLs on defense, and I'm like, holy crap, what can I do against this one? It's like throw in Wampa against C, right? Wampa doesn't have a Datacron, but he can take down C
But he
because of
hasn't.
his Omicron.
But he has the Omicron, and the Omicrons were supposed to bring them potentially to GL level, which is what they told us that was supposed to happen.
Right. So that's basically what I'm saying. Like my Wampa again is sometimes 50-50 against C.
Mm-hmm.
And you throw it in there because if he does it, great. And with Wampa, it's actually even a worse comparison, because if Wampa can't do it, I haven't lost anything. If I throw CLS against the Galactic Legend and I don't win, that's basically that's a pretty beastly team that I now don't have to use somewhere else.
That's fair. And yeah, as long as
I like they use the term beastly with Wampa.
that was intended, right? That was not a happy accident. That was intended. Yeah, I mean, as long as, and I guess I'm okay with that, as long as the counters are, it has to be pretty well thought out. Like it has to be, and there can't be a super high success rate. Like there has to be an element of like, oh crap, let's hold on to our butts and see how this goes. Like, but there are some that, we've seen with Darth Vader and his, endless merciless massacre, that you throw him up against Jedi Master Luke or Rey or First Order, it's basically a guaranteed win. Like that I'm not super okay with, because Vader's someone you get within like the first 3 months of playing the game.
Yeah,
and
that's a clearly broken mechanic.
Is it Lord Vader or is it just Vader by himself?
Vader by himself can do it, because you just got to be able to get him to take a turn. Once he takes a turn, it's game over.
Well, if we put it into perspective, Chet, you went up against Jedi Master Kenobi with gas, and you were putting that up as your last hope for getting past this wall. And if you'd been able to do it, you would have been really excited, and it probably would have been that would have been a rewarding experience, because it wasn't easy. I mean, how many people did you sack to get to a point where
I think I threw like 8 teams at it. I think I sacrificed like 8 Ewoks. Countless Bothans died to get me that opportunity.
Entire factions.
You're not going into that. You're going into that with basically it's a Hail Mary. And
that's fair.
Not everyone is going that big brain at it, right? So again, if you have to really, really think and dot your I's, cross your T's, and just think good thoughts, and maybe you do it, I'm okay with that.
All right. See, this is why I told you guys, I'm a pragmatic man. I can be persuaded. I don't have this hard-held belief, and you make good points. I agree with them all. It's just I get concerned. The one that concerns me is not necessarily these. It's the ones where it's guaranteed. So if we can find a way to make sure it's not like, if they do some quality assurance testing to make sure that this isn't going to break anything, GLs are at least relatively safe, take GL Datacrons out. Get rid of them.
Like we heard your whistling birds weren't fearsome enough, so we added it times what,
400 or whatever it was. I don't know.
400. I don't know. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Oh, all right.
There wasn't enough whistling, so we brought out more whistles.
All right. Final one. This is going to be short. No real discussion on this one. Has the state of Galaxy of Heroes improved or declined due to the release of Datacrons? SWGOH.
It's improved big time.
Airden?
I would say it's improved because it's added to possibilities. And even if I disagree with possibilities that they're going with, it means that maybe there's going to be some rebalancing and some better things for the future.
Yeah, I agree. I would say improved. It's gotten me some use out of some squads that I otherwise wouldn't use. I was able to beat a BAM team with a Rolo team. So I agree. I think it's improved. The level of improvement, I think, kind of remains to be seen. We've just finished the trial run, but I definitely think there's a net improvement there. All right, so we have reached the end. So before we go, what kind of cool stuff are you guys doing? What cool games, books? What kind of stuff are you doing right now? What games are you playing? What books are you reading? Or what shows are you watching right now? Airden, finish us off before we go.
I think books and shows go hand in hand. I started reading Neil Gaiman when I was in college, I want to say, maybe high school, and Netflix came out with a translation of his graphic novel Sandman in a series, and I'm only a couple episodes into it, but it seems pretty well done so far. It's exciting.
Nice.
Probably gonna make me want to go back and reread some of his books.
Legit. Sassy, what about you?
I'm actually reading the new Star Wars novel, Dr. Aphra. So kind of a fan favorite from the comics, but she finally has her own novel that's legitimate Disney canon. So
okay.
Very cool, very exciting. And it's hilarious, for the record. Like, I haven't laughed out loud so hard while reading a book in a while. So highly recommend. And as for show, Rings of Power, super good. I'm excited for more.
Hell yeah, man. I'm gonna join on just the basic bandwagon of, I'm super into both House of the Dragon and Rings of Power. Like, I've watched both so far. I'm up to date on both of them, and I have thoroughly enjoyed everything that I've seen so far on both House of Dragon, Rings of Power. And as for games, I've recently been playing Crusader Kings 3. If you guys aren't familiar with that, you should check that out. It gets you. I got in the mood of it because of House of Dragon. It's basically like a medieval like simulator where like you become like a lord, and you have to like build up your power, and you ascend down the dynasty of your family, and your heir takes over when you die. And there's different ways. It's very interesting. So if you haven't heard of it, check it out. But it's good to pair with like the Lord of the Rings and the whole House of Dragon kind of mentality. But all right, we're gonna leave it there, guys. Thank you so much. Hopefully everyone enjoyed this. If you did, leave a comment down below. If you didn't like it, leave a comment down below. If you have no ideas whatsoever, just comment your favorite emoji, because your engagement really helps out the channel. And drop a like while you're down there, subscribe, all of that fun stuff. Let us know if you want us to do this again. And even if you want us to do this again, it still may not happen. I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, this has been our pilot episode of Never Tell Us the Mods. Thank you guys so much, and have a great rest of your day. Peace out, guys.